Morning, my friends. Crown at his feet. Let's talk about it. Jesus, coffee. Much needed coffee. So, I did the Bible study of John 12 last night on TikTok and then proceeded to stay on 4 hours longer. I'll learn one day, I promise. So, I want to go over the first part of John 12 from verses 1 through 10. 11, sorry. Actually, probably verse 9. And I want you to see some things. God showed me something when I was breaking this down yesterday morning, or yesterday afternoon, as I was at work. So I'm going to read through the passage and then just kind of break it down. So Jesus therefore 6 days before the Passover. So we know that's when he was about to, in this passage, is just days away from his crucifixion. We know that at the Passover he's going to have the Last Supper in the upper room discourse. And he came to Bethany where Lazarus was. Good morning, Carrie. Jesus had raised Lazarus from the dead at this point in time. So he liked being in Bethany with Mary, Martha, and Lazarus. Obviously, Lazarus was a very good friend of his. So he's there and hanging out. So they made him a supper. Martha was serving. Lazarus was laid back at the table. And he was just kind of, the boys were kind of reclining at the table, just kind of chilling. And I want you to see, this is pivotal right here. And I wish I can use, on Facebook, I can't use backgrounds. Otherwise, I would give you a background picture. I'll see if I can post it in the comments. I don't think on lives I can post pictures in the comments. I'll make a post of it and I'll put that picture up there. So we pick up in verse 3. Mary took a pound of very costly perfume of pure nard and anointed the feet of Jesus and wiped his feet with her hair. And the house was filled with fragrance of the perfume. What I want you to see and not miss there is she's using her hair. Why is that so pivotal? Women's hair is their crown. It's their glory. And what she's doing, she's taking her glory and laying it at Jesus' feet. She's laying her crown, essentially, at his feet. Using her hair to wash his feet with a very expensive perfume. I looked at that picture, and when I found that picture, it brought tears to my eyes, because that's so symbolic of what our walk should look like. Laying our crowns in our glory that we seek at his feet. Because when we get to the kingdom, guess what we're going to be doing? Casting them at his feet. Why? Because we don't deserve them. It's his finished work on the cross. It's the only reason we'll even have a crown of life. His finished work, not ours. We talked about that yesterday, right? We didn't start it. we don't finish it. It was finished at the cross, and when we finish it, what's our response? No more work, no more debt. This kid, it's flopping his feet, right? Like, so important to understand that that should be our response. And that's why, go God, that's why God gave me this video on the heels of yesterday. Because what should our response look like? This is what our response should look like to yesterday and his finished work on the cross. It should be laying our glory and our crowns down at his feet and worshiping him, because he's the one that's worthy. He's the one that's worthy of all the honor, all the glory, all the praise. But I don't want you to miss, there's something else that happens here that I don't want you to miss. John 12 is such a packed chapter. Judas Iscariot, one of his disciples who was intending to betray him, said, why is that perfume? Why was that perfume not sold for 300 denarii and given to poor people? Like, he's upset at what he's seeing, not because of the action that's happening, but because it's money that could have been used. It could have been sold. That would have been money he could have watched. Now, as he said this, or he said this not because he was concerned about the poor, but because he was a thief. And as he had the money box, he used to pilfer what was put into it. Jesus' response to him, let her alone so that she may keep it for the day of my burial. For you always have the poor with you, but you do not always have me. Morning, Felipe. He wasn't interested in the poor. He was interested in his pockets. He was interested in, that would have been extra money for him to have pilfered from. And then there were gatherings of, you go through verse 11, the events that follow on from that are, many Jewish people figured out where Jesus was, and they came to him because of the works. They wanted to see more works, and they wanted more. But people were also coming because that's where Lazarus was. And many people were coming to faith because of Lazarus. And the Jewish leaders, the Jewish religious leaders, had intended to kill Lazarus again. Because Lazarus' resurrection posed a threat that many people were believing in Jesus because of they could see Lazarus' resurrection. How do you not believe in that? Right? So, poor Lazarus. You get resurrected. Great, I'm back to life. And they're going to try and take me back out. Awesome. Good morning, Linda. Just that visual of Mary. I looked at that last night during that live, and it just made me think, does our walk look like that? Excuse me. Another 1 a.m. morning. I have to stop that, really. Does our walk look like that? Are we casting glory and crowns at his feet? Would we do that? It's important to understand. It's important to think about. Because he's worthy of it all. He deserves it all. We don't. We often think we deserve things. Not when it comes to salvation, we don't. Salvation is a gift. Completely a gift. And I want you to see it in two passages. Philippians 1 in Hebrews 12:2. Philippians 1:6 in Hebrews 12:2. For I am confident of this very thing, that he who began a good work in you will perfect it until the day of Christ Jesus. He who began the good work. He began it. We didn't begin it. We were drawn to the Father by grace. So he began that work in us with grace. Drew us to himself. And then what's Hebrews 12:2 say? You guys have heard me say this a lot. This is fixing our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter. And in some translations, in the Greek, that's actually finisher. The author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Who began that? Him. He was the author and the finisher. Nowhere in there does it say Jim started, completed. Oh, Jesus began and will perfect. But hey, everywhere in the middle, it's Jim's responsibility. Doesn't say that. The author started it and finisher of faith. And oh, by the way, Jim, I want you to maintain it in the middle. It's a gift. Salvation is a gift. Our response should be to that gift to deny ourselves, pick up our cross daily, and follow him. We should look like Simon the Cyrene as Jesus was headed to the cross. Simon the Cyrene was dragging that cross. Pick up our cross and follow him. Pick up our cross daily and put our flesh on that cross and follow him. So, it showed me that. I just wanted to share it with you guys because, like I said, as I looked at that picture last night, it brought me to tears. I was looking for a fitting picture for the Bible study, and as I found that, I was just a reminder that our position should be just like Mary. And Mary, multiple times in the Gospels, is at Jesus' feet. And it's a good place to be. It's a real good place to be, is at his feet. Why? I'm okay with spending eternity there. That's why I jokingly say that when we get to the kingdom and I get my rock with my name on it, it's going to say Swiffer. Because I'm going to be hanging on his right leg, getting drugged through the streets of heaven. Because I don't want to leave him. I had to live this life without being in his presence. I don't want to live the next one being apart from his presence at all. His presence is what I long for. It's what I long for and what I crave is to be in His presence. And I think that should be our that should be our rightful response. That should be our right response to thinking about the kingdom and thinking about being in the presence of Jesus, is longing to be in the presence of Jesus. That's why there's a song. There's a song called "Christ Be Magnified," and in the bridge of that song, it says, "Death is just a doorway into resurrection life. If I join you when you suffer, then I'll join you when you rise. And when you return in glory with all the angels and the saints, my heart will still be singing, and my song will be the same. Christ be magnified from the altar of my life." Christ be magnified. That should be our response, is we should magnify Him from the altar of our life. Our life should reflect Christ to those that are around us, to those who see us. Because to some, you may be the only Bible they ever get to read. So, make it a good chapter. I love you guys. He loves you like crazy. So, yeah, sorry, got on a little bit of a tirade there. We'll be back tomorrow with whatever Dad wants to talk about. Love you guys.